welcome back, WellSprings. It's good to see so many people here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Teresa. My pronouns are she and her, and I want to welcome you here. And I've got a few notes that I have to do here. I might be able to do them without these. So I just want to say how glad we are that you guys are joining us today. I know it's been a long, long time, and this marks the real beginning of our in-person weekly services, and it's been a long time. Thank you for everybody who dove in to help for all these months during the virtual services. You guys all did a great job. So we're going to start out this morning with the song we sang together at our last service before the pandemic, which would have been March 8th, 2020. It's a song that asks a question we're still asking a year and a half later, a question we always ask in spiritual communities like this one. So, whether in body or in spirit, whether here or at home, please rise and join us. Step out now, but these guys are going to lead us in our next song.
What would it be and would you call it to his face?
your best.
Do your best.
Do everything you can.
Do everything you can.
Don't you worry what the bitter hearts
Gonna say, it just takes some time. Little girl in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright, alright. It just takes some time. Little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright.
Welcome to WellSprings and our Welcome Back Sunday service, both to those here in person and to those joining us by the live stream this morning. My name is Adam. My pronouns are he and him, and I am honored to be leading our worship service today. Today is a little bit different, as this is an all-ages service for Welcome Back Sunday. There is no youth spirit, but the nursery is open for kids under 5, and the nursery is also now outdoors. Little ones needing the nursery can be dropped off with our nursery caregiver, Sharon, who's down here at the playground. Now, each week when we gather, we light a chalice as a symbol of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists. It is not just a symbol of what is past, but of what is present. That divine spark, that inner light that shines at the heart of each of our lives. As we light this chalice, may we share our light with each other and with the world. We've asked Maxon to come forward to light our chalice. And after Maxon has done so, we will say these words together. Perfect. We light this chalice to celebrate the path lit before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. So what has charged my soul? You're about to see. Right there. This is my daughter, off on her first day, on her first bus, and her new school. Move over, pumpkin spice lattes, apple cider donuts, corn mazes, and cozy flannels, because it's moments like these that give me all the feels. For her entire life, her mother and I have taken her to school and picked her up to bring her home. This was the first time that we would essentially be letting a stranger take her to school. Now, you have to realize that my daughter, she didn't care. She had been waiting her whole life for this, to ride that big yellow bus to school. This moment was the start of a big chapter for us. We were leaving behind an amazing school where she had learned and grown exponentially over the last 2 years. None of the friends from that school would be at the new school where this bus was dropping her off. She would need to make all new friends. Well, besides the few pals that she knows from the neighborhood, would she have a good question and countless other things we worried about leading up to that day. It was all going to be different, and we just wanted her to prosper. And prosper and persevere she has during these first 2 weeks. And why did we worry? We knew she could handle it. We knew she was ready for the challenge. And she shined. She shined so bright. We did, in fact, get a great teacher, and we feel very fortunate about that. And everyone that we have interacted with at the new school has been a pleasure to talk to and has really made us feel welcome. And a bonus, get this. Unbeknownst to us at the time, but her grandmother's childhood best friend is a teacher at the school and was sweet enough to introduce herself to my daughter. Now, mind you, that childhood best friend grew up over 3.5 hours away from here. So that's pretty cool. Talk about watching the world shrink right before your eyes. My hope for you is that you feel as giddy as a young elementary schooler riding that big yellow bus on this Welcome Back Sunday as my little girl felt as she bounded up those bus steps with nary a look back at her old mom and dad. I'd like to draw your attention now to our order of service. If you're watching via live stream, you'll find a link to our order of service in the description under the video. And there's also a live text chat happening throughout the service. To access it, please sign in to YouTube. Now, if you are here in the room today, there is a QR code right here on this piece of paper that you received when you came in. You can just point your smartphone camera at the QR code. The website should pop up, and the same order of service will magically pop up right on your phone. Please take a look at the information in the electronic order of service, including upcoming opportunities for connection throughout the week. If you are new to WellSprings today, welcome. Please fill out a connection card to get more information and receive our weekly email newsletter. There's a link to the online version in the order of service, as well as in the chat for those who are following along. There's also a paper version of the connection card here. It's on the back of that same paper that had the QR code on it. You can drop these in the hats as they pass later or in the boxes on the tables outside after our service. Also, on the sheet is an opportunity to provide feedback about your in-person service experience today and any suggestions that you may have as we continue to refine this in-person service approach. You can drop completed forms in the hats as they pass later, as I mentioned, or, as I said, in the boxes outside after the service. We also hope you'll join us for our coffee hour, which will happen simultaneously in person here, outside immediately after the service, and then also online via Zoom. The Zoom link will be posted in the chat towards the end of service. At WellSprings, the foundation of all we do is the power of connection, of making space in our hearts and in our lives for each other. This is the part of the service where we honor that connection by greeting one another. If you're watching via live stream, there are several ways to connect, including posting a greeting to the live chat or dropping a post into the WellSprings Oasis Facebook group. For those here in Bell Hall, you have the opportunity to greet one another. If you would prefer to keep distance from others, that's perfectly fine. Just stay seated and we'll wave to you. And please, ask before hugging or touching another person. It's okay to say no thank you or I'm not really hugging yet. Or greet with a wave, a hand on the heart, a bow of the head, or an elbow bump. You should also feel free to consider posting in the WellSprings Oasis to connect with our participants who are beyond these walls. In whatever ways you are comfortable with greeting, you may do so now. Uh-oh. Fist bumps, elbows. Hey. There's ussies and selfies being taken. This is fantastic. Appreciate everyone who's gotten up to wish warm greetings. Thank you. You have the opportunity, like I said, to continue your conversations after the service, here in person and in those online coffee hours. And if you're here in person, please check out the online coffee hour station that we have set up for you to drop in and say hello to folks participating in Zoom. Tons of ways to connect. This is fantastic. Speaking of dropping in to say hello, we actually have a special charged full message to share today from one of those WellSpringers joining us from home, Terry Fiesler.
Good morning. I'm Terry Fiesler, and I'm charged full about food. That's a no-brainer, right? I love to eat food. I love to make food. I love to share food. I even love to talk about food. I feel a sort of calming joy when I cook. The chopping, the stirring, and the kneading are creative and filling to my senses. This week, I'm particularly charged full about cooking food for our upcoming project of adopting meals for St. Mary's Franciscan Shelter in Phoenixville. During the week of September 20th through September 24th, WellSpringers will be providing meals and snacks for the residents of St. Mary's. I love every step of the process, from choosing the meal that I'll cook to strategizing over how to best package and present the meal. As I choose what food I'll cook, I think of the folks who will eat it. I consider the variety of ages and tastes, and I plan on something that I hope will please the most people. I decided to make meatball stuffed shells. Jumbo pasta shells are filled with a cheese mixture, and then a tiny little meatball is nestled inside the cheese. The whole process is done in stages, and I enjoy the day that I roll up and cook the tiny meatballs. Another one when I boil and fill the pasta shell with the cheese filling and then the meatballs. Some I make without meatballs for those who don't eat meat. Then I freeze it all until it's time to take the last steps of saucing it all up and heating it, then taking it to the home of our Heartworks team leader for delivery to St. Mary's. During every step of the process, I think of the tummies that will be filled, and I send loving thoughts to those folks who will eat it. With every meatball I roll and every shell that I stuff, I hold loving thoughts of those who will eat it. I confess that this act of cooking is very selfish because I love to do it so very much. The wonderful thing about cooking to share is that it's a loving act of nourishment. And when I donate food, I know that 100% of my donation is feeding a hungry tummy. So, on Monday, September 20th, I will enjoy the last steps of this process when I heat it all up and place it carefully and lovingly into the car for its journey to the dinner tables. If you'd like to have the joy and satisfaction of sharing food with some hungry tummies, the link to the sign-up is in this Sunday's order of service. Thank you and happy cooking. Good morning.
Great, thanks, Terry. It's interesting. I hadn't seen that video before. Terry and I have something in common is when I volunteer to make meals for somebody who's suffering or has had a loss, I tend to also make stuffed shells and meatballs as well, too. So I would say great minds think alike, I guess. You heard in Terry's message about Meals for St. Mary's. Susan Havens Lang will be just outside Bell Hall with the St. Mary's sign-up, St. Mary's meal sign-up after the service. Please see her after if you're interested. I now invite you into our time of generosity, an opportunity to express our gratitude for the many ways in which WellSprings impacts our lives and the lives of others. Now more than ever, if you feel the value of our community in these times, we hope that you'll share a gift with us. If you are watching our live stream, you'll find a link to give online in the chat. Everyone who has that smartphone handy, including the folks here in Bell Hall, can simply text WSPRINGS, WSprings, to 73256 for a link to make a gift online. WellSprings members, please know that automated giving via Realm is always the most convenient and surefire way for WellSprings to continue to carry out its vision for our community. Shortly, we will be bringing hats around for those who wish to share a gift via cash or check. You can also place your gifts in the boxes on the tables outside after service, just to the left of the door there. Thank you for all the ways that your gifts support WellSprings. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Please bring the hats forward. Thank you. Great. Thank you, everyone. Having shared energy between us and giving beyond us, let's take some time now to reground into the deep and soulful energy that is within. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath, inhaling and exhaling without rush or hurry, breathing in and breathing out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be. So let's be here together now as we prepare for our time of mindful silence. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of meditation. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and experience presence in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we are doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you this moment. May this be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come. And may it be so for all of us. This is the time when we would typically invite all children who wish to head to their time of fellowship in youth spirit. But as I mentioned earlier, we're all here together for an all-ages service today. But youth spirit has something special for you. I'd like to invite Carol Breslin, our youth spirit leader, Evan Wagaman, and our new ministerial intern, Beth, up front for a story that all of you will enjoy. And after they have finished, the band may take the stage for our next song.
Can everybody hear me? This story takes place when no one had indoor plumbing. Instead, people brought water from springs or lakes or rivers and carried it to their homes. There are still many places in the world where this is how people get water. In our story, we visit the home of an older villager who lived by themselves. To get any fresh water, they had to go to a local river, a trip they made every day. Each morning, the person went to get water. They took a long pole and hung an old bucket on the left side of the pole. And then they took another bucket and hung it on the right side. Always the same buckets on the same sides of the pole. The walk down the dirt path from the house wasn't terribly long and was much easier heading to the river when the buckets were empty. At the river, they would take the pole off their shoulders and take each bucket off the pole, one at a time. Each bucket was dipped into the river, filling it with cold, fresh water. Then the villager would place each bucket back on the pole, oh so carefully lift the pole up. Carefully lift the pole up onto their shoulders and they turn to make the walk back home a bit more slowly, under the weight of the water, to the little house at the end of the dirt path. This was their practice day after day, year after year. There was a leak in the bucket on the villager's right. Every day, the same thing happened. The villager walked to the river, filled up the buckets, and as they walked home, the bucket on the right dripped, 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 until by the time they got home, it was half empty. Until one day, just as they arrived at the river, the right-hand bucket sighed.
Oh, I can't do it.
This surprised the villager. They had never heard a bucket sigh before. Then the bucket spoke.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
What are you so sorry about? They asked the bucket.
That I keep leaking. You work so hard to bring water to the house, and I am half empty by the time we get home. A bucket has one job to do, and I can't do it correctly.
Well, said the villager, you do bring home half a bucket of water.
Don't mock me. I know what I am. I'm a failure. I was meant to carry water. I can't do it. I have this crack, this defect. I'm a failure at the one thing I'm meant to do.
The old villager looked down at the bucket, this bucket which had been on their right side for all these years, with a look of sadness and caring. The right-hand bucket was so sad because it felt it couldn't even do the simple job of carrying water without a leak. After a long moment, the villager began to speak. My good friend, I am so sorry. I had no idea you felt this way. You've been suffering all this time, and you have no idea at all, do you?
What do you mean? What do you mean, no idea about what?
The villager said, Let me show you something, my right-hand friend. Then they took the bucket and filled it with water and put it on the pole as usual. Then the villager filled the left-hand bucket and placed it on the pole on its typical side. Walking down the dirt path home, the villager said to the left-hand bucket, What do you notice? What do I notice? Said the left-hand bucket, who had never spoken before. There's dirt and a path. That's pretty much it. That's right, said the old villager. Now what do you see? They said to the right-hand bucket. The bucket looked down for the first time and was amazed. All along the edge of the dirt path were flowers, beautiful, colorful flowers, showing every hue imaginable, while the side on the villager's left was bare. The right-hand bucket side was lush and beautiful. And the crack that dripped out the water? The drops fell directly onto the flowers, giving moisture to each plant. I planted those flowers, said the villager. They're lovely, aren't they? But they need daily watering, so when I found you, I knew I found exactly what I needed. Every morning, I fill you with water, and every morning, as I walk back home, you sprinkle out so carefully, so precisely, drop by drop, exactly the right amount of water to keep these flowers alive, to keep them flourishing, to keep them beautiful. This path is the most wonderful place in my entire world, and that's all because of you. They consoled the bucket. I'm so sorry that you never knew this. So sorry that you thought you were broken, that you were a failure. You're not a failure, and you're not broken. You're perfect. The bucket was stunned into silence, and the old villager looked at it with wise eyes and said, "What's amazing is that precisely the thing that you thought made you broken was the exact same thing which made you so powerful. What you thought was your greatest flaw was exactly what I needed to make our world a more beautiful place. The crack which you thought made you nothing was exactly what was needed to make our whole world beautiful."
And that is the end of our story. Many thanks to our narrator, Evan Wagenman, and the villager, who's our new ministerial intern, Beth Munholland, for helping us to tell it. And thanks for your help also.
Was a Cape Town man, used to plow and sing. He loved his mule loved him. When the day got long, like it does about now, I'd hear him singing to his muley cow, like this. Come on, you sweet old girl, I bet the whole damn world we're gonna make it yet to the end of the road. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. Well, it's a mean old world, heavy in need. That big machine keeps on picking up speed. They were supping on tears, supping on wine. We all get to heaven in our own sweet time. So come on, you Asheville boys, turn up your old time noise. Kick till the dust comes up from the cracks in the floor. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. So come on, you ragtime kings. Come on, you all and sing. Pick up that dusty old horn and give it a blow. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. No more.
Can you hear me now? Oh! It's so nice to get applause for something so small. Oh, Carol, you put it on the other ear. This is going to mess me up. Good morning, everybody. This is my first time being up here since we've been back. I cannot put into words how it feels to look at all of you. I miss the bottom half of your faces. But we'll see them again soon, I know. Before I begin our brief message today, I want to acknowledge a few things that are different. This earpiece is one. All right, I want to acknowledge a few things that are different from the last time that we gathered here for a regular Sunday morning service. And I don't mean the masks or the seating. I mean the people. I want us to take a moment as we gather again for the start of our new congregational year, the third one affected by this pandemic, for a moment of shared silence for those who never got the chance to reunite with us in body. At least a dozen members of our congregation lost family members or very close friends to this coronavirus pandemic. There may be more of you who I don't know about. There may be people here who are grieving new losses unrelated to the pandemic. On this weekend, also, when we recognize the great loss, the 20th anniversary of a time when we lost so many people and also some innocence as a nation. Those losses 20 years ago, all the way up to the present day loss and danger in Afghanistan. A trail of losses. It feels like the right time to take a moment to honor
of these things, the big ones and the ones closer to home. I'm specifically and especially thinking today of how the pandemic prevented us from holding a planned memorial service here for Arlene Jeffers, a founding member of our congregation who passed away in February of 2020. And of course, last winter, we lost Robert Merritt, another beloved member of our community. And I know that Robert and Arlene would have loved to be here today to hear the band play together one more time. For these people so beloved to us, and for anyone else who has come to your mind as I've been talking, anyone else who's on your heart today, anyone you've lost since we've gathered here together, let's just take one brief moment now to hold them close in our hearts and sit in silence. Amen. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. It's an aspirational statement of sorts, isn't it? It's a defiant one. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. We've had a lot of practice with hard times since last year, a lot of practice keeping our heads above water, and the opportunities to practice working with difficult things and keeping our heads above water are not ending as much as we'd hoped right now, so much as they are changing. Now we have new and different questions about what to send our kids to or not, where to go or not, who to interact with or not. We have new and different challenges. But of course, we know that pandemic or no pandemic, hard times are always a part of our lives. And they find us all at some point. What I love about that song that Andy just sang is that the answer to hard times seems a little silly. Anybody pick up on it? It was to dance, right? To stomp the ground, to pick up the horn, to stay exactly where we are and celebrate anyway, in defiance. Celebrating what we have in the face of frustration and grief and sadness and anger is a true life skill. It is something we have to practice, as it doesn't always come naturally. And you can call it practicing gratitude. For some people, that's how they get that feeling. You can call it practicing resistance, resilience. You can call it practicing joy. It doesn't really matter to me what you call it, but that ability to dance in the face of grief and loss and to pull joy even out of the hardest times is what keeps us going. It's what keeps a volunteer crew of 20, 30 people figuring out how to do church in 2 places, on the internet and here. It's what has kept you all going as you have sent kids off to school asking questions about whether or not it was the right decision. It's what is keeping us going now. And sometimes, in order to dance in this moment, we have to hold those stories we tell about our failures loosely. We have to let go of those questions about what we could have done differently or how we could be different, more capable, more ready for this moment, because none of us was prepared for this. That little leaky bucket in our story today had no idea that the place where the bucket was failing was the exact thing that could make the world more beautiful. Not only that, it had been specifically chosen for its flaw, for a purpose. And it was only by engaging and connecting and talking with the water bearer, sharing what was going on, how it felt, that the bucket learned to see that different perspective. That the leaky bucket could ever get out of its own little bucket head and see the beauty that it was offering to the world. And so that's exactly why it's worth it for these 25, 30 people to figure out how to do this. That's why it is worth it to gather together and to be in community. Because when we practice community, especially in places like this, where we don't just practice it with family and friends, we don't just meet people who think and look and talk exactly like we do. We learn more that way about the world and about our own beauty. With other Unitarian Universalists, with other people who commit to honor us and to see, even when it's hard, the worth in each of us and the spark of original blessing that we carry. So that is one of the reasons why spiritual community still matters, I think. Even in the face of everything that we are dealing with, and we cannot fix it, we know. But this helps. And it's why I'm so grateful to welcome you all back here for the start of another congregational year. And who knows what this upcoming congregational year will hold. I don't know what October will hold. If you do, see me after the service. But I know that having made it through all of these hard times, we have seen new sides of our community, of ourselves, and of each other. And maybe some new gifts, some new blossoms are about to be revealed along the way. And if you today feel like you are still stuck in the middle of that story, still trying to find what it is that your purpose is, what beauty you have to the world, in this community, all I can say is that we trust that you have it. We do. And we're here to walk alongside you to help you discover it. So I'm going to invite Reverend Ken up here to finish out our message this morning and tell you a little bit about how we're going to practice our Welcome Back Sunday ritual today. And I'm going to give him my mic back.
I haven't spoken yet, so we'll see if it works. It works. Whether here in person, whether online, it's so good to be with you. Some of you I have known. We can measure our relationship in years, closer to 2 decades than 1 decade. And for some of you I've known in minutes. It is good to be with you. It is good to be back together as WellSprings. So there is an Episcopal priest. An Episcopal priest, I believe, serves a church in Ontario, Canada, who I follow on Twitter, and I kind of like their wit and their wisdom, and recently wrote this. I just commented on some random guy's Instagram. Oh, wow, we must be neighbors. I have the exact same view. Reader, I was married to him. Random guy was my husband. That is my view. I really need to pay closer attention. Now, I don't know what was actually going through Reverend Daniel's mind that may have made him so inattentive. I do know what goes through my mind that makes me inattentive. And it is what we saw in the story that you Spirit offered us this morning. I know that I am at my most inattentive when I get fixated on what I believe are the parts of me that are damaged or broken or leaking or drained. I know that I am at my most disconnected from reality, my most inattentive, when I get stuck in those places. As Reverend Lee just said, this is why the power of spiritual community is so incredibly vital, especially now, especially this tradition that says, although we all have struggles, we are not originally, inherently off or wrong or broken. In fact, it is the opposite. That we are all born of original blessing and for blessing to bless this world. To be able to widen our lens on our own lives when we get inattentive and we miss because of doom scrolling, we miss because of obsessing, we miss because of worrying what is going to happen and how will we respond and will we be prepared. And when we can say to all those questions, and still come back to what we know in our hearts. Our innate wholeness that reminds us that yes, even with our flaws and our failures, that these things aren't just something to get past, that in fact we see along the side of the path that our flaws and our failures might in fact be the very seed and seat of how we bless this world. That this is our creative power. And creative power that helps us see beyond, and not just beyond, but also within and more deeply, the sometimes limited stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. Especially when we're drained, especially when we're depleted. I know of no better way than to help widen the lens than to remember to play. Especially now, when everything is so serious and everything is so fraught, and there's no way to wipe that away. I think if we somehow are denying that things are so serious and are so fraught, we are disconnected from reality, but that is just one view of what's going on. And that's what our Welcome Back ritual is about. Those of you who've been around since the beginning or in the time since the beginning, you know that we have a particular ritual here at WellSprings. Many congregations on this day kind of bring waters in, representing the travels that people may have been and places they may have been since the last time they gathered. We do it a little bit differently. We want to share our water out. And so, in years past, not this year, pretty soon, the air in here would be so filled with bubbles that you would have to dart and dash around them to not walk out of here with what can most generously be called bubble slime all over you. And it's beautiful. And it is lovely. And it is a reminder that as we begin yet another congregational year, that we can play together in the midst of our incredibly serious work, our vital work of blessing the world. And of course, this year is different. The messaging from the CDC has been inconsistent, shall we say, this summer, but I think we can also say that the CDC would probably not say, let's all take off our masks inside and start blowing through little circles this small, little pockets and bubbles of air all around us. We're not going to do that this year. But here's the thing. A great ritual is a great ritual no matter what. A great ritual is life-bearing and life-giving and can be recreated under a whole bunch of circumstances. So I'm going to ask you, when you leave here in just a little bit, after we pray, after we hear the final song, after we extinguish that chalice, you'll see outside there's going to be bubble wands and automated bubble machines. I mean, as a child of the 70s, I got to tell you, seeing an automated bubble machine still blows my mind. I'm old school, but I'm open to adaptation. Take some time for a little bit of paradise. Okay, would you? Don't just rush on or rush out. See the bubbles float around your head. Watch your own joy. See the joy of those around you. As Reverend Lee said, it's heavy right now, which means that it's even more important that we go and we hold our lives and each other's lives as lightly as we can. as light as a bubble. Observing those bubbles, paying attention and tuning in is an act of love. And these acts of love, certainly what our hurting, worried world needs right now. Amen. And may you live in blessing. And I wonder if you would pray with me, if you do that with me. As we join our hearts together, and as we take in sounds, sensations, everything that is here, may we remember that Spirit is of these things, not somewhere else, not sometime else, not someplace else, but right here, right now. May we recognize that this day is an opportunity to recreate, to recreate our lives once more. May we recognize that for everything that is going on, we still have some say in the matter. How we choose to direct the focus of our attention and our actions, and to allow the works of our hands and our hearts to take on the shape of love. Amen. I invite the band back up.
Whether in body or in spirit, whether here or at home or elsewhere, please rise, whether in body or in spirit.
Well, I need a sign to let me know you're here. All of these lines are being crossed over the atmosphere, and I need to know that things are gonna look up, 'cause I feel us drowning in a sea spilled from a cup. When there is no place safe and no safe place to put my head, you can feel the world shake from the words that are said. And I'm calling all angels, and I'm calling all you angels. And I won't give up if you don't give up. And I won't give up if you don't give up. And I won't give up if you don't give up. And I won't give up if you don't give up. And I need a sign to let me know you're here, 'cause my TV set just keeps it all from being clear. And I want a reason for the way things have to be. And I need a hand to help me build some kind of hope inside of me. And I'm calling all angels. And I'm calling all you angels. When children have to play inside so they don't disappear, well, private eyes over marriage lies 'cause we don't talk for years. And the football teams are kissing queens and losing sight of having dreams, in a world where what we want is only what we want until it's ours. And I'm calling all angels. And I'm
This light may go out, it may have already gone out. That's how good our ventilation is, everyone. But the spark that lit that flame stays with each of us. And together we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, and to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. While we were calling all angels, Adam handed me Robert's name tag. An angel here among us. Friends, I won't give up if you don't give up. Let's put our hands together one more time. Guys, take us out.